Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. So tonight I wanted to talk about briefly, actually, and hopefully have some discussion. But I wanted to talk about my favorite thing to talk about, which is meditation. And uh, recently I read a sutta I can't remember reading before, where the Buddha is talking. It happened twice in the canon where the Buddha says this. He's talking to his followers, the mendicants, and he's telling them one aspect of about his own practice. And this is shortly after he's gained awakening. He's experienced awakening just a few months after. And this is in the Connected Discourses, the Samyutta Nikaya. It's towards the beginning, where actually it's the chapter where there's these exchanges between the Buddha and Mara. So this is Samyutta 4:4, and it's Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. Thus have I heard, short sutta. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Varanasi in the deer park at Isipatana. There, the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus: Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, those bhikkhus replied. And the Blessed One said this: Bhikkhus, by careful attention, by careful right effort, I have arrived at unsurpassed liberation. I have realized unsurpassed liberation. You too, practitioners, by careful attention, by careful right effort, must arrive at unsurpassed liberation, must realize unsurpassed liberation. Yoniso, sort of like going back to the beginning, going back to the cause, and manasakara, mana, mind, and sakara, the working of the mind, going back to to sort of the roots. Wise attention, careful attention is the first thing, and then this expression, I don't think it's anywhere else in the canon, just this two places where the Buddha talks about this careful right effort. Yoniso sama uh, padana. Padana, it's not the same as effort in the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a different Pali word, but basically meaning the same thing. And I'll just say, Ajahn Brahm, who to me is the go-to for understanding how to help Westerners relax, help teach Westerners meditation. He doesn't want to call it right effort anymore. He wants to call it right endeavor. And this is I think this is a beautiful word, and is one of the choices of that Pali word, and works here. So this our careful right engagement. So these two things, these are real keys in our meditation. Uh, Careful attention. Where are we placing the attention, and how? and then this careful or wise right effort, right endeavor. It really underscores one of Ajahn Brahm's favorite teachings and favorite sayings, which is in our practice to be leaning into, relying on, using wisdom power, not willpower. Wisdom does the work. All we really need to do is show up, but to really show up. There's two qualities that we need in our spiritual practice. One is to be observant, and the second is to be honest. And when we do that part, when we're really observant, having this wise attention and this wise right endeavor, when we're observant, we're mindful, we're really aware of what is happening inside, and honest. When we're observant and honest, that this is that wise attention and that wise right endeavor. There's a very important conversation between Kotita, he's a monk, Kotita and Sariputta. It's in the middle length discourses, sutta number 43. And Venerable Kotita asks Sariputta, friend, what is the proximate cause? What brings about right view? Which is the whole point of our entire practice. You know, we have enough right view, enough wisdom to get ourselves onto the path, to respond to the Buddha's teachings, and then we walk the path, we cultivate the path, we develop the path, and it culminates in supramundane right view, this penetrative right view. And so here's Venerable Kotita asking Sariputta, what is it that will be the impetus for the arising of right view? Such an important conversation. And Sariputta answers, the voice of another and this careful, wise attention. So important where we're placing our attention and how we're placing, how we're attending. These two components, this wise attention, and to me, yeah, that conversation with Kotita and Sariputta says it all. The Buddha is so clear about this paramount place that wise attention has in our Dhamma practice, and very specifically in our meditation practice. And this careful, wise, considered right endeavor. We know the definition of right effort. We've all been around the Dhamma long enough. It's this fourfold, it's a drop-down menu, the fourfold, and the two first parts, the preventing and then the removing, have to do with the unwholesome, have to do with the five hindrances. And then the third and the fourth of the right endeavor have to do with bringing, arousing and then developing the wholesome, the 7 factors of enlightenment. And this word that gets translated meditate, the Pali word is bhavana, which has this probably a more accurate literal translation could be cultivate. So this whole idea of cultivating, tending a garden, and these are the right endeavors. That the first two, dealing with the weeds and getting out the rocks and the competition, and then the third and fourth of the right efforts is the fertilizing and watering the flowers or the vegetables, the seven factors of enlightenment. And an important sutta in the connected discourses uh, in the seven factors of enlightenment chapter, the Bojjhanga chapter, which I think is 46, Sutta 51, where the Buddha talks about the nutriments and the denutriments for the five hindrances, and then the nutriments and the denutriments for the seven factors of enlightenment. It's all this wise attention. Where are we putting the attention, and how are we attending? And truly, you know, the the practice of meditation is not so much what is arising, what is happening in the meditation. It's all in the relationship. It's all how are we relating to what is arising. Because what is arising, actually, we don't have so much control over. Much of this is due to past causes and conditions. And the present Dhamma that we are making as we meditate, the actual training of the attention, training of the mind, is this bringing in the wise attention. And if we could get this, we're golden. We're free, because it doesn't really matter what's arising, because we are relating to it wisely. And I was talking with Jean briefly before 6, and or sorry, 5 for you, many of you. And I told her I was going to do something tonight that I wanted to do for a couple of years and just not had enough courage. But I'm going to do it tonight. And that is, I'm going to read a children's book. And I think this, if I could do, so the children's book is The Rabbit Listened. And if I could be the rabbit in my meditation, if I could do rabbit meditation, steady state, I would be much farther along on the path. The rabbit, to me, the rabbit embodies a wise attention. So I'm going to read the whole story, and then try and underscore how I think that this rabbit is embodying this quality of wise attention, which is very related to wise right endeavor. And what's very beautiful in this book, the illustrations are stunning, and this is the protagonist. This is Taylor. Let me introduce you to Taylor. And we never hear a gender. Taylor's androgynous. This is Taylor. So one day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special. Something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. This is the first noble truth. Life happened. And again, the languaging in this book is stunning. Out of nowhere, something happened and things came crashing down. There's no blame. Just something happened and it came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice. So here comes one of the first hindrances. here comes here comes a hindrance. Here comes a weed. Cluck, cluck, cluck. What a shame. I'm so sorry, sorry, sorry this happened. Let's talk about it. Cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking. So the chicken left. And Taylor's still experiencing quite a bit of unwholesome mind state. Next came the bear. Grr, 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 how horrible! I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Grr, grr, grr. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting. So the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Drum, da, I can fix this. We need to remember exactly the way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering. So the elephant also left. One by one they came, hindrance by hindrance. The hyena, hee hee, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, gulp, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo, tisk tisk, what a mess. Let's throw it all away. And the snake, shh, let's go knock some down somebody else's. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody, so eventually they all left until Taylor was alone. And here comes wise attention. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit, but it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. And together, they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." And the rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to build again. I can't wait, Taylor said. It's going to be amazing. The rabbit listened. Yeah. This is by an author, Corey Dorfield. Dorfeld. Dorfeld. Such a beautiful book. The rabbit listened. And that really is our wise attention, where there's just that, my meditation teacher, Beth Upton, talks about her go-to translation for metta is just acceptance. And there you see this quality in the rabbit where the rabbit simply accepts Taylor. It's not pushing Taylor to do anything different. It's not trying to fix it for Taylor. It's just attending, just being with. And should we be able to learn this, not abandoning ourselves, not abandoning our experience, not trying to control our experience or fix our experience, but just experience our experience. This is the first go-to, and when we can have this beautiful, soft, wise attention, then everything else will unfold. All of those hindrances. This is what the Buddha did in the middle length discourses. Again, going back to the Buddha's own meditation practice in the middle length discourses, Sutta number 19, two kinds of thought, where the Buddha taught. This is the Buddha describing before he was awakened. He realized, oh, I can divide my thoughts into these two classes, and the one is the five hindrances, and the other is the seven factors of awakening. The one is, unwholesome thoughts, and the other are wholesome thoughts. It's very simple. You can divide my thoughts into these two classes, and when the mind is, before he's awakened, he's so much more like us. And when the mind goes to the unwholesome side, it was this wise attention. He was able to see, oh, this is problematic. It doesn't feel good. It's afflictive. And just being, observant and honest and seeing that, it starts to dis the mind starts to disengage from it, and it starts to fall apart. And to me, you really see that in this story, The Rabbit Listens. The rabbit stayed with Taylor and didn't leave. And all of the upset and difficulty from the experience Taylor had of this things coming crashing down moved through, and Taylor regrouped, and then there was a plan to rebuild, and it'll be amazing. And for me, the drawings, I mean, you can't see them like, I hope you all get the book. You really see the wise attention in the rabbit's face. The rabbit is receiving each one of the emotions that Taylor is going through, and is attuned and not rejecting in any way. Uh, it's just so hard for us sometimes to not pile up our hindrances, that we have impatience coming up in the mind stream, and then it just feeds more impatience, and we're impatient with our impatience, and this is inertia. This is just the physics, really. It's just the nature of things. And so it takes this wise attention, this like really deliberate, concerted effort, wise, right endeavor to try to meet our hindrances with a different kind of energy. And and then things flow, and 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 the mind begins to be able to really relax, and then the path opens up. It's very beautiful in this children's story. uh, the author says, when the time was right, when the time was right, then Taylor completely regrouped. And there's almost a quote from the sutta, that there's passages in the numerical discourses that Bhante Sujato is beginning to translate as, a time comes when, a time comes when the the five faculties have come into balance, and the mind uh, the mind settles, and the mind goes into jhana. A time comes when. There's a wonderful, this whole thing of wise attention and where we place the attention, and how there's a wonderful story I heard from Ajahn Sona, when he was still a layperson, and uh, he was attending this Korean Zen monastery often in Toronto. And he he said, this one person asks this Korean monk as he's having his tea, how long will it take to become enlightened? And Sona says, the Korean monk, kind of without batting an eye, says, a year. And Sona was shocked, like, what? And then, and then the Korean monk, takes a sip of his coffee, and then he puts his coffee down. Then he goes, no, actually, I can't tell you how long. I can only tell you how. And the Buddha's telling us how. Mendicants, was through wise attention and wise right endeavor. I I experienced unsurpassed liberation. So this for me, this is meditation, listening, and and becoming, uh, having our wise attention be like a very, very quiet, warm, fuzzy, soft rabbit come, and lean up against us, and be our companion on this path of purification. So I wish to end there, and I hope there'll be discussion about these ideas. Yeah.
Handamayam Dhammakataya Sadhukaram Dadamase. Sadhu, 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 anamodami. Maybe people can just take turns to unmute themselves. And can you see everyone, Ayya?
Totally. Yeah,
Okay, then you
iPhone and iPad. I'm not
okay,
sure,
then you
but
can
yeah, I can definitely see everyone. Yeah,
can um, I'll let you uh, host that then.
yeah, sure. Great. Please, Kathy.
So, when things arise and they're unpleasant, we just watch them and we don't judge them. Is that the idea? We don't wish them otherwise and um, react hostilely.
What
Or,
do you think? What do you think?
well, yeah, but it's not easy. Like, because like I've been having a lot of painful meditations, and if it isn't the body, it's the mind, or it's both. And it's unpleasant. So I've just been sitting there labeling unpleasant, unpleasant, unpleasant. It still is unpleasant. Or I try metta to soften the the tension, which is me trying to get rid of it. So I don't know how to not do that. Um, Not either want to get rid of it with and soften it with metta or just unpleasant, unpleasant, unpleasant. Or sometimes if I just label things, I'll eventually then fall asleep. So that's not a good choice either. So, or I just say, well, today isn't a good day. I'm just not going to meditate any longer. Like I've been here for 20 minutes, enough is enough. So I guess I'm kind of puzzled on how to just remain neutral, and just be the rabbit.
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, Kathy, honestly, that is why I read the book because Kathy, first of all, I just want to normalize what you're experiencing, and uh, a lot of us, uh, it's very interesting, a lot of us have used pleasant sense contact, pleasant experiences to 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 feel and to become present and to have some ease and enjoyment in our life. And then when we come to meditation, we're trying to learn to stay present with all three feeling tones, the pleasant and the neutral and the unpleasant. And the meditation object often is quite neutral. Uh, so it is a skill. And I, honestly, I would maybe try and get this book from the library. I mean, I got it from the library. It uh because I do think that it's sort of it's almost even a visual of 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 how to do this. And there are different techniques that people use. Uh so Kathy, you want to somehow bring friendship into this, where you're somehow learning to be that rabbit. You're learning to be your own best friend, where it's not just unpleasant, unpleasant, unpleasant. That's, I mean, if I was having coffee with you and I was telling you about some of my heartaches, and you were just across the table going, unpleasant, 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 true, better than, denying my experience. At least you're acknowledging that I'm telling you about difficulty. But you also maybe can learn to be, um, yeah, more filled with some kind of metta, some kind of empathy, like bless my heart. Bless my heart. Like this is hard. And these memories are, yeah, that was a very hard time in my life. Or the pain in the body, you know? Like but the other thing with the pain in the body is sometimes we can walk or lie down and it be a little bit more more easeful, less painful. Mm. But definitely like what you were saying, the judging and the rejecting, that's even more unskillful than just labeling unpleasant, unpleasant, unpleasant. I don't know if anything I've said is at all helpful.
What about visualizing myself as the furry little rabbit?
It's exactly like play. Definitely play. Play, visualization, absolutely.
The thing is, we're both Taylor and the rabbit then.
Exact. Oh, 100%. 100%. And the suttas are very, very clear about this. That's exactly right. This is our mind, and this is our wise attention. This is our meditation training. There's a beautiful metaphor in the middle length discourses, Sutta 125, where the Buddha gives this very beautiful metaphor of a wild elephant and an elephant tamer. So this is the wild elephant. It's our mind, our untrained mind, and this is the elephant tamer. Yeah, and Taylor would be hooped without the rabbit. Taylor would never have. It would have been a much different outcome if Taylor had only encountered the chicken and the ostrich and the elephant and that's our worldly life. That's the way our untrained mind, how we've met our untrained mind. And then the then we come in contact with the Dhamma, and this wise attention comes and curls up next to us. Kathy, that's 100% right. You are exactly right. We are both Taylor and the rabbit. It's exactly right. And
But
and our meditation is a relationship. It's a relationship between the elephant tamer, our wise attention, our instructions, what we're trying to do, and what's arising.
but in the story, Taylor got angry and he was gonna go wreck somebody else's and he was gonna do all those things. So that's when our mind is doing its thing, I guess, all these hindrances that are arising. But the rabbit didn't react.
Well, I do want you to get the book. The rabbit does react, like very subtle. He's attuned, and he's attending, and he's witnessing, and kind of almost like receiving and absorbing some of that energy, but not giving it back. And then he's very attuned as Taylor starts to pull out and get excited about the plan. The rabbit is also like very engaged.
What about labeling? Like, because I've had times where, all of a sudden this anger, and it's like, whoa, there's anger. And then I'll do the not me, not mine, not I.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like surprise and not happy that there's anger, but then that's judging. So is labeling still listening, or is it best just to be observant?
I think you it, you just want to try both, you know. When you label anger, you want it to be very, very kind and gentle. Like, oof, anger. Oh, yeah. Ah, I feel it, and have it move through. But any resistance that we give, that judgment, that not happy, that 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 starts to get things more entangled. This is such a hard skill to learn.
Well, also the mind and body are so quick. They
Mhm.
like the body often reacts before the mind even realizes, because the for me it's my mind notices my body that it's tense and tight, and the mind might not be until it notices, and then of course it gets tense and tight. So it's just all so quick.
Exactly. It's where we want the stronger our mindfulness is, the uh, it it does tend to slow things down a little bit.
And of course, I'm forgetting to go back to the object. So if I'm focused on the object, then I'm not focused on the anger or whatever. So I'm bringing myself back to whatever my object is.
Hmm. Which is very wholesome. All the time that we spend with our object is a wholesome mind state, wholesome mind state. And then if something else is really loud, like anger, then the rabbit needs to be with the anger. The wise attention needs to be with the anger.
Yeah, this is all stuff I've heard before.
But
That was helpful.
yeah, yeah,
I'll go look for that.
yeah,
Thank you.
beautiful.
I'm Anne,
And
and I was meditating very well, and then I fell asleep. And for about 10 minutes, I fell asleep. And I was being a bit critical about that. But now, having heard the rabbit, I have to just be happy that I spent 20 minutes meditating, and then my brain needed to rest, obviously.
100%, yeah. And that particular hindrance, Anne, is like the least um negative. It's the least negative. And often, often when we are meditating well and we're beginning to really relax, we will tend to drift into sort of uh, some dullness and drowsiness, and and Beth Upton will always uh, encourage people to be more on that end than on the work, striving, the pushing. So, yeah, like seriously, no big deal.
But
Serious.
it's really nice not to criticize yourself because I tend to do that. I'm thinking, oh, you should have stayed awake the whole time.
No, dullness and drowsiness. Much of the time, we're actually just tired. Yeah,
Yes.
and then occasionally, um, there's just we've gotten so relaxed. There's a little bit of an imbalance, and then occasionally, if we're having a lot of dullness and drowsiness, sometimes where it's the most like a hindrance is there's something, some emotion or some situation in our life that we're not really being observant and honest about, like we're not really willing to be with. So if, like if you were on retreat and you'd had like 2 or 3 days and then you were still having a lot of dullness and drowsiness, then Beth Upton suggests that you pose a question in the mind of, what is the most unpleasant aspect of my experience right now? As the breadcrumbs to, is there something that I'm like wanting to numb out from, dull out from? But
Interesting.
in this instance, I think you just were really relaxed,
I
which is
was, definitely, I
great,
was.
super great, very, very good.
But it's lovely not to be self-critical about it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm actually sitting in our one-person sauna. We got, because they're having puja upstairs in the meditation space, and many of the other places in the house that you would hear me. So we're trying to call this the phone booth.
Ayya, my name is Sita. I
Oh,
wanted,
Sita, nice
hi,
to
nice to meet you. I wanted to ask, like, do you find that there's maybe certain times of day when when people are like, do people have to figure out when they're more likely to have a good meditation session, or
100%. Totally. Yeah.
so?
I think some people get stuck on, I'm supposed to meditate first thing in the morning. And actually, for some people, that's not the best time. Beth Upton's retreats are very open. There's like 2 sessions that you have to go to, and the rest of the day is, she really encourages people, find your good time of day. And it's really different. Some people it's early morning, some people it's right after lunch, some people, yeah, some people late afternoon, some people evening, and we're very different.
So people just have to kind of experiment and figure out what.
Totally, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
That's
do
a
you?
great question.
I have another question. Like, do you have any tips for like what I find is one of my big struggles is that I have like certain topics that I guess ruminate about, and
Yeah.
it's just like a habit, and and there's maybe like 3 of them, and I just like seem to flip back and forth between them, and I just find it really hard to stop that. Like, it's really difficult. I've probably been doing it for years. Like,
Yeah. So Beth also talks about that what you might try is just extremely clear instructions to your rabbit, to your attention before you start to meditate. Like, okay, we're going to meditate, and your little go-to is to think about this relationship and
yeah,
these finances and that memory. These are kind of your 3 hot topics. So we're going to try and take a break from all 3 of those. No need right now. And also really, really using the wisdom, Sita, using the wisdom, when you're off the cushion, talk to yourself about, I just go in circles with these topics and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't actually help. There's a part of us that really does get hooked with worry. We somehow think, if I think about this some more, I'm gonna like figure it out. So using the wisdom, like, come on, Sita, like, be honest with yourself. Like, it that isn't gonna help. Actually getting a break from them, resting, replenishing my resources, this might help.
thank you.
Yeah. Good that you know where your mind goes. That's good to know. Well, and sometimes we're not completely honest, like you're being honest. It's really great. Yeah.
I loved the story.
Yay. I knew you did. I could tell. I know. Odessa would love this too.
She would actually. And I've books were just a huge part of, raising my kids and
Yeah.
even my own growing up. And so it's kind of like, those Pixar movies where there's the adult level and then there's the kid
Yes,
level.
yes,
And
yes, yes.
so it's so beautiful. And I think that's what I love about it is sometimes the busyness of the mind just makes things more complicated. And so what I love is the parallel of when we see the beautiful simplicity of the story and the illustrations. Um, it helps me feel that this doesn't have to be too complicated. It is just about that right, careful endeavor
Mhm.
and right attention. And I love that wording. The other thing that came to mind when you were speaking was something that Jayanta, I remember teaching often about, something truthful and is it helpful and is it and then only then when it's both of those things, if it's the right time. And so I can't remember the wording that you used, but I really liked that. Can you repeat the when the right time comes, or it was something
Yeah. Um, in the story, the author says, at the
at the right
right
time?
time. And in the suttas, Bhante Sujato is beginning to translate this samaya, it's a Pali word, as the time comes when.
And the time
The
comes when.
time comes when. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, the mind will settle, the mind will collect and unify. The time will come when.
Mm.
So it's
I had
great. We just
I had a boss who was a supervisor who he would often say to me, Kathleen, don't push the river.
yeah,
So
wow.
um yeah, and so this is reminding me of that. So thank you very much for your courage in sharing this story.
I know, I'm so, yeah, you
I
seem like
loved
the
it.
safest group,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
That's a compliment to your group. Yeah. All women, just a little bit safer. Yeah.
So I just wanted to add, sometimes when I'm not on the cushion and I notice I'm in a mood, and I don't seem to be able to shake it, I've occasionally said, okay, you get 5 minutes and you just do whatever you're gonna do, rant in your mind or do whatever. And it really seems to help. And when the 5 minutes is up, and if I slip, it's like, oh, wait a minute. The rule was 5 minutes to, okay. But that's off the cushion. So I don't know, maybe I should try that on the cushion too.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. Two quick things. We're pretty much at time, but Ajahn Brahm, I heard him in a Dhamma talk. There was a rains retreat when he was still in Thailand, and he was by himself, and he was super struggling. Um, you know, I'm inferring it was lust, like he was a guy in his 20s, and he never said, but he was definitely struggling in his mind. He was having a hard time, and he was by himself. There was no senior monk to go to, and he says he just ended up plunking himself in front of the Buddha, and then having this wisdom, like, oh, okay. Like he was just struggling all day, all night, like day after day after day. So he decided just exactly what you said, Kathy. Between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m., I will let my mind go do whatever it wants. Like no holds bar, just, and everything, everything settled down. Everything, and then 3 p.m. came, and the chains were off, and the mind was quite peaceful.
It's like the kid having the tantrum. They got to get it out. So if the mind's having its little tantrum, it's like, oh, all right, go ahead. And then it gets it out of its system.
Yeah. And sometimes the permission is enough that then
But I found sometimes I never made it to the 5 minutes. It's like,
exactly.
oh,
Exactly.
yeah, because like you say, it's the permission.
The permission. And see, the permission is that rabbit, that soft rabbit that's not trying to clamp down on the mind and fix it. It's just being a beautiful companion to the mind. Christopher Reeves, who had that terrible accident off the horse and ended up with like a C1, he wrote a book, It's Still Me. And he said he gave himself 5 minutes, Kathy, 5 minutes in the morning. He would always wake up in the horrible funk and he would not resist it. And he was allowed 5 minutes to feel horribly sorry for himself, completely the victim, angry, and then he wouldn't, and then he would not let his mind go there the whole rest of the day. And he talked about, no, you have to play the cards you're dealt. Like he did not fight his situation, but he allowed every day, first thing in the morning, 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, we need to work with the energies in our mind. Yeah. All right. I'm so happy that y'all listened to the book. Thank you. Maybe I'll read it
Thank
again.
you for reading it to us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ayya.
Beautiful author. Yeah. Amazing illustrations. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I actually told Beth Upton, my meditation teacher, like super busy, like, and the next interview I had with her, she held up the book. She'd gone and ordered it. And then she told me she read it and she cried. Yeah. It's a very beautiful visual for us of meditation working. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much, Ayya, for a
Great.
lovely evening. Very insightful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayya. Thank you, everyone.
Lovely.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Ayya.
you all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.